Good morning.
Good morning.
Beautiful unity of Charlotte, my beloved friends. I am Reverend Marty Bacher, and as of today, I'm still the senior minister, so don't mess with me. Tomorrow you can mess with me, but as of today, and I'm grateful for this opportunity. I'm grateful to be here together. I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for this journey that we are on together. We're here as a spiritual community to lovingly support each other in remembering the truth of who we are. Divine beings having a human experience. And so as we come together in spiritual community, it is in that remembrance of what is true as we support each other, because sometimes we forget. So we are here to lovingly support each other. We believe that spiritual community enhances our experience of life. It makes it richer and deeper and more expanded. I'm grateful to be a part of it. I'm grateful you're here. If you're visiting us for the first time, nice to meet you. Gotta run. But otherwise, they'll still be here. They're all lovely. You'll love them. So if you are, we want to make sure you received a guest packet. We're grateful you're here. It is a delightful and wonderful community. We also want you to know our ministry of prayer is available to you to lovingly support you in knowing that truth. We have prayer request forms in the lobby, as well as you can go online at unityofcharlotte.org. So, having said that, let us pray. When in doubt, pray. And so as we come together in this moment, as we open our hearts and our minds to the presence of absolute unconditional love, and we remember that there is but one life, one power, one presence, one divine intelligence animating all things. As we breathe into this moment, knowing that we are not only surrounded by the divine, but the divine is alive and well within us. We give great thanks for this day, for the blessing of being together, for this spiritual community, this divine idea that continues to unfold. I'm grateful for the many hands and hearts that come together each Sunday to provide this service, for all of those who graciously give of their time, of their talent, and their treasure to provide this wonderful community. And I know something magnificent is taking place here and now. As we remember this truth, that we are created of divine love, that our lives are unfolding perfectly in divine timing and in right order. So we give thanks for the blessings of this day, for all of the blessings to come. How good it is to be here now. As together we say, and so it is. Amen. We have a special guest musician. You know, it's funny, thank you, because I was playing in my mind, wouldn't it be fun if, and my mind, the universe heard my mind. So please welcome Kay.
Do we know just what it means? It means inner transformation, a truth that sets you free. Glory, glory, hallelujah. It's happening to me. Our blood, it is the same blood. Every rhythm is the beat. One body blown to pieces. One life, the light of us. One God and no religion. One love, one love. This is the cracking of the eggshell, the shedding of our skin. Though there are many saviors out there, the Savior lies within. We're gonna break apart our own hearts so that everyone can see our the beat. One body blown to pieces. One life, the light of us. One God and no religion. One love, one love. One body bathed in glory. Light of the universe. One God and no religion. One love, one love. Choir's gonna join me. And if those of you who remember this song, please join us. One body, one life, one God, one love, one love, one body, bathing light of the universe. One God, one love, one love, one body, one life, the light of us. One God and no religion. One love, one love, one love, one love. God bless you. Thank you.
Okay. So I have a lot to say. This could be a longer service because, it's my last shot. Get it all in. No, I'm not going to do that to you. But I do have a lot to say. There's so many, it's been such an interesting process of this evolution of my life and how it just continues to unfold in weird and mysterious ways. I always like to tell the story of how Sally and I first met. We were in a seminar in Chicago learning how to do small group ministry. 10 years, 9 years? How many? I don't know. Been a lot. And so the very first exercise they had us partner up, and we did this exercise, and we were prayer partners. They said, you're going to be prayer partners. Well, cool. Looked over, here's this woman in purple, because she's always in purple, and said, let's do this. And so the assignment was this. You get to tell your partner your problem. But the way you tell your partner the problem is you only get to say blah, 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 blah. Now put as much feeling, put the emotion behind it, say it like you mean it. And then your prayer partner is going to pray for you, but the only word they get to use is love. Love, 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 love. And it was such an amazing experience, wasn't it? And so we've been prayer partners for 9 or 10 years now. And I can tell you over these years, there's been a lot of blah, blah, blahs that we've shared together and a lot of love, love, loves. I say we're very blessed that we have worked it out so we don't both go into the blah territory at the same time, so one can remind the other, which is what we do in spiritual community, isn't it? You can learn all the principles, you can learn all of the things, but having another that can remind you when you forget is a blessing. So I'm grateful for that. Sally was here when I first candidated, and she's been here, as you know, many times. You'll see her quite a bit over the next few months because she's stepping in to help a continuum, which is important. So I'm grateful for that. Grateful for Reverend Jim, who's stepping in. Adrian, I heard you were fabulous, by the way. So, it's an interesting thing to be living in this moment of time. Don't know if you've noticed there's a lot going on around us in the world. And when we're not careful, I know, Super Bowl, right? and there's two teams playing. I do know that. I'm pretty sure I know who they are, but I'm not going to bet on it. But there's just so much going on, and there's this easy way of stepping into thinking that that is the reality. And what I find with these teachings is that we must come back to who we are over and over and over. The master teacher once taught us a very simple principle, and yet most of us skim right by it. And he said, you must love God above all else. Love the divine. And you must love your neighbor as yourself. Which would then imply that we need to love ourselves. I often say to people that if you talk to your friends the way you talk to yourself, you would not have very many friends. What makes you think, right? And so learning to be in this state of truly honoring who we are. Our teachings tell us that we are divine beings. Not because of anything we've done, not because we've achieved something, not because we've become enlightened, not because of anything we've done, but because we are. We say very profoundly, there's one life. And that life is ever present and always available. I remind myself, I remind my students over and over how wonderful that there's a divine intelligence in this world that works. How wonderful that I don't have to wake up in the morning and add to my to-do list, be sure and breathe, make sure that heart beats, make sure all the 10 billion functions of the body that take place are taking place. No, that happens because I'm part of one life. And that life expresses in and through and as all of creation. And so when we begin to move, I've shared many times how my journey from an external God, a God that lived out there, some cloud somewhere, was man, come on, let's, judging me, making decisions about my life, rewarding some, punishing others. That was the God I grew up with. And that was the God that I was trying to convince that I should get what I want. Because look at me, a lovely child. I left the church for many years, not because I always kind of loved, I always loved the red letter parts of the Bible, but my parents divorced when I was young, and so that gave us a great excuse to not go to church anymore. So all the kids were like, yay, sorry about the divorce, but yay. So we weren't vibing on it. And so I didn't step into a church for many years until I stepped into a Science of Mind church in Phoenix, Arizona, and it rocked my world. They said, there's a power and a presence in this universe, and you are a part of it. And therefore you are a co-creative being, and you co-create through the creative intelligence is the creative source, but we are co-creative through our thought, our word, our action, our belief. And so when the Master tells us, it is done unto you as you believe, we need to look at our belief. It is written that it is the Father's, it is this powers, it is this universal intelligence, good pleasure to give us the kingdom. And so if we're not experiencing the fullness of the kingdom, it is not because the divine is somehow withholding our good. Isn't that amazing? It is because somehow we have come to believe that we don't deserve it, or we're not worthy, or any other of 100 other limiting beliefs. And so life loves us so much that it does conform itself through us to our belief. So for me, as a child, thinking that God was outside of myself, my good was outside of myself, all of this was outside of myself, I believed that if I could just get the right things to happen in my life, then I would be happy. That if I could find the right relationship, I would experience love. If I lived in the right place, I would be happy. If I changed the right job, if I got the right job, right? If I did all of the outers, then I would have an inner experience. But I'm here to tell you this teaching turns your whole world upside down. And it says, if you experience the spiritual dimension, this spiritual kingdom, which I believe Jesus was referring to, then all these things shall be added unto you. Wow. Well, that's cool. Except you're going to have to give up the devil. I love the devil. And by that, remember Flip Wilson? Some of us are old enough to remember Flip Wilson. The devil made me do it. It was so lovely to have something outside of myself that I could blame these problems on. But no, we had to learn to take responsibility. And so the thing that I began to understand, that for all of my praying, for all of my hoping, for all of my affirming, for all of the spiritual work that I was doing, if I didn't have a fundamentally right relationship with myself, I was not creating a vessel or a container through which my greater good could come forward. Right? If I believed myself to be undeserving, I might even say all the right words, but the universe resonates at the level of our belief, right? And so I attracted into my experience those things that supported my belief. I was recently in conversation with a dear friend who's going through challenging times. Pretty severe depression. And we were having a conversation. I was saying, first of all, I don't know, it was 3 years ago today that I went in the hospital. 5 days later, I came out of the hospital because I had undiagnosed depression and didn't deal with it well. So you can either deal with your stuff or you create a situation where you get to deal with your stuff. I always say you can do it now or you can do it later. You're going to do it. And so when I look back at that, I knew when I came out of that experience, I got to have a 5-day vacation, hallelujah. Food service, it was great. They're lovely people, good food, actually. You couldn't leave, but otherwise it was pretty nice. And I knew in that situation that my life would somehow be different. That there was a path, and I didn't know what the path was, but I would trust the divine, and I would take care of the issues, and, got what I needed, and became a normal person again. Now, I could think I'm a horrible person because I went through that. By gosh, I've studied and taught these teachings for 30 years. And yet, I got to be crazy too. Hey, welcome, right? And part of the problem, my friends, is I wasn't willing to talk about that. Was I? I wasn't willing to talk about what was going on because I should be this other thing. I only share this because so often in our teaching, we want to do happy, peppy people all the time. That if you really understood these principles, you'd be happy, you'd be tall, you'd be rich, you'd be thin. Right? Right? I mean, there's kind of an unlearned thing. So my friend had gone to a church like this, and it triggered. It kicked her into her unsolved stuff. So reached out, and we had a wonderful conversation. But, I said, first of all, you need to know I understand exactly what you're talking about. The difference between mental illness and illness is if you break your leg, you got a pretty good clue, something ain't right, let me get to the hospital. Mental illness is very easy to live in some other dimension thinking, I'll just, you have all this to be grateful for. I know that. And I'm still depressed. It's not a conversation you have like, oh, okay, well, I won't do this biochemical thing and it's going on in my body anymore, right? So I said, first of all, I hear you. I love you, I understand you. But let us talk about who you are. Let us talk about who you are. You are a spiritual being. And because you are a spiritual being, all of those qualities of spirit are already yours. Love, joy, harmony, peace, all of that. You are lovable because love created you. Not because of anything you must do or anything. So when we begin to understand that, then we begin to understand, look at me, I am a divine being having an experience of depression. I'm not depressed. I'm not my depression. I'm just a divine being who's been given a vessel, who's been given a vehicle to walk through this life on this planet. It's called a body. And in this body, you're going to experience the physicalness of this experience. But you're no less divine. And so I said, imagine, they like to travel, so I said, imagine, so you just went on this big trip, right? Yep. And you went to Rome. I don't know where they went, but right? You went to Rome, right? She said, yeah. I said, are you Rome? He said, no, I just visited. My point, we are spiritual beings. And sometimes we visit the fullness of life on this planet. But we are not the experience we're having. We're just having an experience. And the more we can recognize that whatever we're going through in a moment, right, is not who we are, it's an experience that we're having. And so we signed up for an e-ticket and said, I want Earth. I'm going to go to Earth. It's cool. You get a body. They have gravity. You get to live somewhere. You get to do all this stuff on Earth that just as a free-flowing spiritual being I don't get to do. So there's a waiting list to get here. And then we forgot our origin, and we thought this was the experience. And we may have thought, oh, great, here I am on Earth, so if I just make a lot of money, I'm going to be so happy. Or if I just find that right relationship, because we all know you live happily ever after as soon as you find that right mate. You don't seem convinced somehow. Right? We're having a human experience. At some point, we got to turn in the vehicle. It's like a rental car. You get to drive it for a while, you got to give back. At some point, you got to give this thing back. It doesn't change who you are. So the more we can understand that we are a spiritual being experiencing all kinds of things, light and darkness, love and something less than love, all of that, it is part of who we are. And the more we get that, so you see, my thing, if I wanted to talk about one of my things, I just am so tired of metaphysicians that are metaphysicians from the neck up and want to talk about light all the time. There is darkness in our world. If we look at the symbol of the Tao, another wonderful symbol for the divine, there is light and dark. There's masculine and feminine. They are polarities. They're not duality, they're polarities. So as a spiritual being, if I'm willing to just simply acknowledge that this is the experience I'm having in this moment, then I can bless the moment, even if it's unpleasant. Even when it's unpleasant. We're not doing anything wrong. We are not somehow less lovable because we are having such an experience. Unconditional love, which is what the divine is unconditional. Doesn't put requirements. Oh, if you'll do this, then you're lovable. Oh, if you say that, blah, 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 right? All of those things that happen in our head are not true. We are divine beings. And therefore, love created us. There's nothing we need to do to earn love. It is ours. There's nothing we need to do to earn abundance. There's nothing. You see, it's all these spiritual qualities. The essence of who we are is who we are. Now, I like to talk about, we want to pay attention to the facts in our lives. If you break your leg, by all means, please get to a doctor. Please get to a trained professional that can help you with that. It doesn't make you any less spiritual. And then use your spiritual power to participate in the healing. If you're experiencing mental illness, don't be like me, unless you need 5 days off, and but get the help you need. Pay attention to the facts as you do your spiritual work. Does that make sense? You see, so often I get frustrated by everybody thinking there need to be this happy, peppy person all the time. You? Did you start this? Except she is happy, peppy person all the time. But I'm certain there must be a day. Jerry, never mind. I'm not gonna get in the middle of that. Right? Now, what I find is I am more happy, more peppy, more alive now because I recognize who I am. I don't have to dwell in the darkness, but when darkness is there, I need to recognize it. Right? When it's not working at the outer level, we simply use that, as I always like to say, that's the mirror. That's the mirror pointing back to us something. We don't need to fix the mirror. We need to fix our hair. Right? How good is that? That we can begin, many of us have been on this journey for a long time, none of us are done, especially not me, to live more fully in the world. And the first step is learning to love ourselves unconditionally. You see, the fact that I've done really stupid things over the course of my life, I won't go through all of them because we don't have that much time, but trust me, I have made mistakes along the way. Right? Have you? Okay. Gosh, because you were starting to worry me there. Right? We all have. The mistake we make is that we think that mistake that we made somehow made us unlovable. It just taught us what we needed to know. If we are wise and use that experience to choose again. So Jesus taught us to forgive over and over and over, which is to choose love. Right? To say, I'm going to choose to love you no matter what. When I was younger, I used to think, I had this belief because I didn't know who I was, and so I always had to get upset about something before I'd make change. I had to get to a place where I hated the job before I'd change jobs. I had to wait till a relationship got out of control before I'd leave the relationship. So I say this to you because I am leaving this church absolutely in love with you. Well, you can't do that. Yeah, you can, turns out, right? It is not, blah, blah, blah. So anybody, if you want to have a story, make up your own, but there's no story. I love you, and it's very clear it's time for me to take my next step. And it's very clear it's time for Unity of Charlotte to take its next step. And we can do that in love. Now, we can have a big brawl if you want. I've been there, but I'm just really not in, or I'm not going to participate. But if you want to, go ahead. Right? See what I mean? So often, like, I hate this job. Now I can make the choice. And then I realize, I could just make the choice. Right? We are always faced with choice. And the more I love myself, the more I value myself, the more I respect myself, the more empowered my choices are as I move through life. I remember when I was a codependent nightmare that walked into a church some 35 years ago, and people who were empowered and had boundaries seemed like they were mean to me, or it seemed like they were mean, to me. In my opinion, they seem mean. Like that person just said no. What? I came from a family, you never said no. You didn't do what you were asked, but you wouldn't just say it out loud. Right? Right? Let us figure out how to be passive aggressive, right? I'll say yes, but I'm going to do no. You figure it out. I'm going to be upset with you, but I'm not going to talk to you. I'm going to talk to so-and-so, because eventually it'll get back to you, and then you'll know that you made your head hurt, right? And then I realized, as my own self-esteem improved and as my own consciousness evolved, wow, how powerful. That when Jesus said to us, let your yes be yes and your no be no, he meant it. And so does the universe. If we say yes from a committed place in our heart to something, the universe is like, cool. bring it. When we say no to the universe from a committed place in our heart, it's like, okay, I'm going to stop that. But we do a lot of maybe. Well, maybe, right? And the universe gets confused by that. I'm like, I don't know what to do. So I'm just going to do nothing. And you're like, well, you're so lucky, right? Hear me when I say this. We are powerful beings. We are powerful spiritual beings. And our power lies, one, because there is a power within us that works through us, but our true power works because we have the ability to evolve in consciousness. And we become cooperative with the divine. We become participants in our lives. When I was young, I had a victim mentality. Life happened to me. I thought God rewarded this and the devil was punishing this, and it was all in... And it was very confusing. But then I read this passage that said, the rain falls on the just and the unjust alike. The spiritual principles work exactly the same for everyone. Given the opportunity to awaken to the presence of love that is always available, the presence of spiritual principles that are always working, then we develop the capacity to love generously and to participate in the way the universe works. How cool is that? So I share this with you, my friends, because I think it's important. We're going through a change. I want you to know, if you ever say, Reverend Marty left his church, I will come back and slap you upside the head. I usually don't do that, but for this instance, I will. No, because it's not my church. It never was. It started 45 years ago. And those who have served and had the opportunity to steward a part of it. I've gotten to steward a part of it. In fact, the ways I've gotten myself into trouble in ministry over these last 30 years is when I confused me with my ministry. When I confused me with my job. So I am still a minister. I will still continue to do what I do in the world. I just won't be leading this church. And I trust and know that the work we have done together over these last few years has been good and powerful. I was here. There's that great phrase that says, people come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. I came for a season to help shift this group into the next thing. And the idea behind the small group ministry, the mission-centric thing, is to have you be in relationship with each other, not only with me. And that's why I feel confident and comfortable that we're not done by any means. You're never done, by the way. You're never done. Ministry is never done. But we took a step, and I'm privileged to have been part of that. Part of me wants to say, look at all the things we've done. I'm not going to do that, but there's a lot we've done. As I've been reflecting on this over the last, we've been busy. We've done a lot. And it's good. And it's good. And the future is bright. So I am so grateful, so very grateful for each of you, for what we've co-created together, for the opportunity to serve in this capacity. I can't tell you, when I came out of that dark place and went, okay, I guess I'm going to have to do something with my life. And I had good friends and loving people, support. Like, okay, what next? And I stumbled around for a little bit, and then this little voice of God thing said, there's a little church called Unity of Charlotte. They want to do mission-centric ministry. It's like, I don't do ministry anymore, because that's always my first response when I get guidance. Oh, no, I don't do that. And then it keeps coming, and then I go, okay, I guess I'll listen. Very much in the model of Moses in that capacity. And they say, okay. And here we are. And here we have been. So this is sad. And it's also wonderful. And because we are multi-dimensional beings, we can experience our sadness and our wonderfulness all at the same time. Why, you ask? Because we are spiritual beings having human experience. And it's mixed. Sad, joy. I'm excited. I don't know exactly, but I know because the same voice that tells me everything is telling me again, this is take the next step. Take the next step. And so I am. And I'm grateful. And I love you. Yes. Thank you. How many times have I told you, Sally, if I knew leaving would get, finally I get a standing ovation? I'm kidding, right? But thank you. It's like I said, I can only feel love in my heart for this experience, and I'm sad. I mean, I've had a little more time to deal with it, so but my closing thought is just be generous with yourself and each other, right? That's the essence of grieving, good grief, is just be generous with yourself. If you're happy, be happy. If you're sad, be sad. If you need to cry, cry. If you need to laugh, laugh. Because there's one life, you are part of it, that has all kinds of emotions and all kinds of things going on. But if we know we're spiritual beings, then we can step back and observe the experience and go, wow, look at me being all depressed, Look at me being ecstatic. Look at me feeling what it feels like to love unconditionally. So I'd like to pray, if that's okay with you. And just breathing into the moment. Breathing into the love that is in this room. Being thankful for the way that we have touched each other's lives and blessed each other. Being thankful for this divine idea called Unity of Charlotte that has brought us together. Being thankful for all that has been and all that shall be. Meister Eckhart, great mystic, once said, if the only prayer you ever gave was thank you, that would be enough. And so our hearts are full of gratitude. Our hearts are full of joy. Our hearts are full of love. Because in this moment we remember who we are. Divine beings having a human experience. A divine collective having an organizational experience. Love has brought us together. Love sustains us. Love fulfills itself through us. So as I speak this word of truth, it is with that knowing that God is and all is well. That all things are in right and perfect order. As I bless this community, I know this blessing goes far to bless others. We hold a vision collectively, not only for our community, but for the community that is humanity, for our brothers and sisters around the world. We bless all priests, rabbis, ministers, teachers of all faiths, for we know there are many pathways to the divine, and therefore we celebrate them all. How grateful I am for this day, for this blessing, for each of you. And so I'm giving thanks. Releasing this word to those spiritual principles that knows how to move for the highest good of all concerned, in perfect timing, and in divine right order. And so in joy and in love and in profound gratitude, I simply give thanks that this is so, as together we say, and so it is. Amen.
Only happy about 75% of the time. So I do cry, and when I heard that Reverend Marty was leaving, my first reaction was great grief and sadness. And we are going to miss him. And the other thing we have to think about, though, is that he is stepping out on a great adventure, and we should be excited for him. And I know it's scary, but it can be very exhilarating. And the same thing for us here at Unity. We have another exciting time ahead of us. And we have Reverend Sally and Reverend Jim who are going to be preaching or teaching us lessons. And so this is a good thing. It is a good thing. And we can still cry if we want to. That's okay. Or we can have tears of happiness as well. So I just wanted to say that before I sing this song. And you know this song. I want you to just sing it with me, clap, and you'll know as soon as you hear it what it is. It might sound crazy what I'm about to say. Sunshine, she's here and she's gonna stay. I'm a hot air balloon that will touch the sky. Oh, with the air, well, I don't care. Oh, but by the way, because I'm happy in the trick of room, a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel that happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel that that's what you want to do. Here come bad news, talking this and that. Yeah, well, I know that things have argued you back. Yeah, well, I should tell you, I will be okay. Yeah, no offense to you, but it's a waste of time. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know that happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness means to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to be. Can't bring me down, can bring me down, 'cause love is good, can bring me down. I'm so high, can bring me down. I'm so happy, can bring me down. 'Cause love is good, can bring me down, can bring me down. Love is good, can bring me down. I'm so high, bring me down. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know that happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness means to you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Clap along if you feel that that's what you want to do. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know that happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness means to you. Hey, hey, hey. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Come on. Can bring me down. Love is good. Can bring me down. I'm so happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know that happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know that happiness is for you. Hey, hey, hey. Clap along if you know that that's what you want to do. Because I'm happy. Clap along.